Now, I know everybody loves fractions, so let's jump right in to a lesson over proper and improper fractions. We say that a fraction is a proper fraction when the numerator is smaller than the denominator. A fraction is improper when the denominator is smaller than the numerator. But those two definitions are completely useless if you don't remember the difference between denominator and numerator. So we're going to go right next door and give you a reminder that the number on top of a fraction and the numerator, or the denominator, is the number on the bottom. Now, if keeping those straight is problematic for you, you can take the D in denominator and use it for the word down to remember that the number in the denominator is down on the bottom of the fraction. So that may help. So we're going to use our two newfound our newfound vocabulary words, rather, and see if we can identify proper fractions and improper fractions. If I look down here at 3/2, I notice that the numerator is greater than the denominator. That means, those three little dots mean, therefore, this is an improper fraction. So I'm going to go look at number 2. 6, the numerator, is definitely smaller than 11. So my numerator is smaller than the denominator. That means this is a proper fraction. If I look at 3, I notice that the numerator is greater than the denominator. That means this one is an improper fraction. And if I look at the last one, I don't care about that negative sign. It makes no difference whether your fraction is positive or negative when you're looking for proper or improper. All I need to know here is that the numerator, the 9, is less than the 10. That means this is a proper fraction. Now there's one that's not in here. Let's say you were given 3/3. What do we do when the numerator equals the denominator? Well, when the numerator equals the denominator, we are venturing into improper territory. Because we could very easily simplify that to equaling 1. So a proper fraction has the numerator smaller than the denominator. An improper fraction means the numerator is greater than or equal to the denominator. So now we'll go look at mixed numbers. A mixed number is a number with a whole part and a fraction part. So numbers like 2 1/3, -6 1/5, or 9 1/2. The numerators don't have to be a 1. I could make this 6 3/5. We have a whole part in each one of these. And then the other part is a fraction. Sometimes, though, we don't want a mixed number. We want an improper fraction. So we need to take a look at how to convert a mixed number to an improper fraction. So the first thing we're going to do is multiply. We want to multiply the whole number by the denominator. So if I go down and look at the first example, I want to multiply the whole number, so the 1, times the denominator. Then I want to add the answer from step 1 to the numerator. Well, that's easy enough. I want to add this answer, so 5, to the numerator. For that last step, I want to write the answer from step 2 over the original denominator. So when I go down here, I want to write the answer from step 2 over the denominator. So 1 4/5 is equivalent or equal to 9/5. So I'm going to go try this one. My direction said to multiply the whole part times the denominator, then add that answer to the numerator, and write that number over the denominator. So whole number times denominator plus numerator and then keep the original denominator. Whole number times denominator plus the numerator is 27 over the denominator. So that is converting a mixed number, or a mixed number to an improper fraction. Now we need to go the opposite direction. Now we want to go from an improper fraction to a mixed number. So to do that, we're going to do numerator divided by the denominator. But we want to actually write out the remainder. And this is going to go way back to when you first learned to divide by hand. I'm going to look at this 20 divided by 3. That means I want to do the numerator divided by the denominator. And when you first learned to divide, chances are you learned that 6 times 3 was the closest you were going to be able to get to 20. And then you subtract. And then back in the very, very early stages of your division, you just took that leftover 2 and wrote it up top as your remainder. That's what we're going to do now, and we're going to use that remainder. So our second step is going to be write down the whole number result. So in this case, we would write down the 6. Then we're going to make the remainder the numerator of the fractional part. We're going to keep the original denominator. So I write down the whole number result, that was the 6. I'm going to make the remainder the numerator of the fractional part and keep the original denominator. So I can write 20 divided by 3, or 20/3, as 6 2/3. So I'm going to go the process again with 31 over 10. I want 31 divided by 10. Well, I know 10 times 3 is 30. and I have a remainder of 1. So I'm going to write down my whole number part. I'm going to make the remainder the numerator of the fraction, and I'm going to keep my original denominator. With 9/4, we're going to look at 9 divided by 4. I know 2 times 4 gives me 8. So I have a remainder of 1. So I write down the whole number part. I use the remainder as my numerator, and I keep the original denominator. Last one. I have 2 divided. Yes. 2 divided into 7. Well, I know 2 times 3 is 6. That leaves me with 1 for a remainder. So I keep the whole number part. I use the remainder as the numerator, and I keep the denominator. And that is a quick reminder lesson about proper and improper fractions along with mixed numbers.